Hey, Comic-Con.com. We've got two very special guests today, Monty Nero and Mike Dowling. They are the creative team behind Death Sentence, the complete collection. It's just come out from Titan Comics. The series is about three people infected with a fatal sexually transmitted infection, but on the plus side, they are given superpowers. So, Mike and Monty, welcome to Comic-Con.com. I'm almost afraid to ask this first question, but I'll do it anyway. How did you come up with this idea in the first place?
I was driving back from a Comic-Con and thinking I'd love to do a comic. And it's like a 3.5-hour drive from Inverness down to where I live. So basically, in the sort of 3.5-hour drive, I came up with the idea for Death Sentence. And it was very much driven by the emotions I was feeling at the time about, it sounds weird, but my wife was pregnant and I felt like I only had like 6 months left to do something creative, or else I wouldn't be able to do it afterwards because I'd need to be more responsible and settle down and get a normal job. So that idea of time running out and only having 6 months to do what you want to do with your life, which was for me to make a comic, is really the core of the book, and the sort of the creativity that I think we all have in some way to the desire to express ourselves and our personality. I think a lot of people's frustrations in life come from that kind of emotion. So that's really what was the core of the theme of the book, and then it was just finding a way to dramatize it.
Got it. So how did the STI come into it?
I think I was just thinking of ways to kind of to dramatize it. I didn't just want a normal virus because it's kind of like a little bit pedestrian, a bit too everyday. I think the thing about the STI is you have to choose whether you're going to kind of like make love to someone. So you're sort of making a choice, whereas with a virus, just a general virus, it's very random.
It's just something you contract, right?
Yeah, and I think it's great to have a sense of agency and a decision making and control. So that was the kind of reason for that.
Got it. And Mike, I've got to apologize. Your camera's a little bit wonky right now, so we're seeing you at a bit of an angle. But how did you? Yeah, other way, Mike.
The wrong way, isn't it?
Other way. Yeah, now you're really upside down. Yeah. Mike, how did you get involved in the project in Death Sentence?
Well, I mean, it was a while ago now, wasn't it, Monty? So trying to think. I think I was at a comic convention in Bristol. Does this sound right, Monty?
Yes.
At Bristol, and I had a portfolio of my work, and I hadn't really done much work at all, and I was just sticking it under sort of anyone who would look, just kind of giving it to anyone who would look at it, and hoping people would say anything really, good or bad, I guess you must have got I must have stuck it under your nose for some reason, Monty. I can't imagine why.
I was standing behind you in the queue because we both. So I was standing behind you in the queue, looking over your shoulder, thinking like, "Fuck, this guy's good."
Right. So whilst you were trying to get paid employment, you were also planning ahead.
Yeah.
You were one step further on than me. Yeah.
Right.
So, Mike, you started with the artwork, but Monty, you, in addition to writer, you're also an artist, and you also had Martin Simmonds contribute as well. How did you make those creative decisions when it came to who was going to draw what, and what was the collaboration like between writer, artist?
One of the smartest things I did was recognize that Mike is a much better comic artist than I am, and just let him draw the book however he wanted to draw the book. So because I'm an artist and I draw comics, I think I'm quite good at spotting when someone's very good at it. And Mike is really, really good at it, and Martin's also very good at it in a different way. He's got kind of different skills. So yeah, that was definitely the smartest decision I made. Was I'd done some concept art, I'd painted some covers, I'd sort of designed some of the characters and I'd written about 10 pages of script. And I really wanted to be a writer because I'd done art for a living for about 15 years, and I really wanted to get into writing. So I really knew that if I was going to make a success of writing, I had to focus 100% on it and make something really exceptional.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you eventually presented to me was almost like a complete visual pitch package, really. I mean, you had designs for the characters and their tattoos, and the sort of the visual lexicon of it was all laid out, really. And so from my point of view, it was just like, okay, I can just do the sequentials, because it was all in place. It certainly made it a lot easier for me.
Yeah, good. I mean, that's great, but you kind of understating how difficult doing the sequentials is. It's like 164 pages of artwork, all impeccably drawn, which is a lot more difficult than just doing a few sort of character sketches and sort of concept work. And then immediately, I sent Mike the script, and he was very excited by it. And as soon as he sent pages back, I was like really impressed with a couple of things. One was the tone and the sort of authority that he brought to it to turn it into like a sort of cutting edge kind of graphic novel. And then the second thing was his character acting, so the way that the characters would emote and kind of convey the emotion that I asked for in the scene. So that meant that a lot of comics, if you read them, they're written very defensively, what I call defensively, in that the writer doesn't often know the artist, or they're not sure what they're going to do. So they write in what I call a defensive way, where they're always trying to make things simple, and they're kind of explaining in the kind of dialogue or maybe the captions what's happening, because they're not 100% sure that the artist is going to capture it. Whereas with Mike, it was the opposite. I immediately realized how good he was at character acting, so I could ask for things and just let things happen visually. And Mike would often do this, off his own bat. He'd sort of change, something that I'd written in one panel into two panels in order to give it kind of greater emphasis on the character reaction. So the acting in the comic was very good, and it makes it very kind of powerful, and it makes it a great read, because it's that balance between the visuals and the writing, that the text, that make a comic really, really interesting, I think.
Right. So this series was actually created more than a decade ago, right? And now you're bringing everything together into a single collection. What can readers expect? What specials, what behind the scenes or process stuff do you have in the book?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's lots that people won't have seen before. Firstly, like, it's the first time it's all been collected into one book that you read through as one story.
As opposed to three separate graphic novels, essentially.
Yeah, it was three separate graphic novels, but a lot of people won't have read the final half of the last graphic novel, because I did the artwork for that myself. So as you say, it's kind of, the story's developed over sort of 10 years. So Mike did the first book, which was 164 pages, and then Martin came on and did 1.5 books with painted artwork, the sort of thing you see in Department of Truth, and that was mind-blowing stuff. And then at that point, he got so kind of big and popular that he got this opportunity to do this image book. So I'd always said to him, and to Mike as well, I said, look, I really feel that if you do like a book with me, you'll be able to get, much more prestigious work off the back of that, because, I appreciate that I'm not the biggest this isn't the biggest deal in the world drawing Death Sentence, which Titan were publishing. So you'll be able to sort of use it as a stepping stone to greater things, which when you're dealing with people of the talent of Mike and Martin, you have to understand that you're only really going to get them for a bit because they're so talented, they're going to go on to bigger things. So the fact that Mike finished the first book and did the 6 issues, and then Martin did 9 issues, I was just totally blown away and sort of humbled that they did that. And as you can imagine, every sort of couple of weeks when you're getting pages from those guys, it's a really, really happy time. so that was really good. But by the time that period had ended, I'd kind of figured out how to combine drawing comics with writing comics and sort of have enough confidence in my script and not need to. I think the thing I was always worried about was I would change the story to suit things that I was more comfortable drawing. And I think at that stage I was very much like, this is the story I want to tell, and I don't want to change it just because I'm not great drawing something. So the final 3 issues, we've got those, the kind of climax to the whole story, and then there's a kind of designing the world of Death Sentence piece. Goes into a lot of depth about how the comic came together, how the characters were designed, why things worked and why things didn't work, how he managed to take it from being a self-published comic to being like this international thing that sold really well, and then got collected multiple times and translated into French and all this kind of stuff. Then there's a covers gallery. Then there's a kind of really interesting essay from a professor of comics about kind of where Death Sentence sits in the sort of pantheon of the British comics and also superhero comics like US comics. And then there's another foreword from me as well about what I think about the whole experience.
Got it. Mike, what are you excited that what are you most excited for readers to find in this collected edition?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of read it in one sitting. Well, not necessarily
it's a long sitting, but yeah,
it's a big sitting, but to be able to kind of come at it fresh and then just take kind of ingest the whole thing in one go, I think be kind of a great experience, and just for it to be in any way present again, because I think you've probably got the feeling that this is the sort of the genesis of the book, and bringing it together was on Monty, and it's often the way, even in the most sort of intense collaborations, that you, as the artist, there's a sort of a sense of privilege if you're drawing something that you really like, and that possibly you have some input on yourself, or sometimes not. Sometimes it's just a case of just drawing the script as you find it and just appreciating the quality of it as you go. And I think that comes and goes. Sometimes you work on a book and for whatever reason it doesn't quite come together, and you're sort of left thinking, well, I'm not sure this works. And I can't really, it's not my sort of position really to say whether Death Sentence worked or not. But certainly, as an experience, I felt it was a really good one, and I do feel that the book itself is. I mean, it's full of wild and interesting kind of and crazy things. I feel like anyone with a pulse would probably enjoy it, And it's,
I was going to say, I mean, something clearly works with it if it's been around for this long.
Yeah.
I know that there's talk of a television series. Is there anything you can tell us about it?
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to just jump in and say there was it's really freaky reading it now, because obviously, I started writing this sort of over 10 years ago. Yeah. And then since then, so many things have happened that are in the book. Like it basically predicted the pandemic and the lockdown, and how everyone would react to that. And then there's loads of stuff about kind of like the sort of swing to the right in British politics, with Boris Johnson, of all people, getting into power, which was kind of predicted in the book. And loads of other stuff to do with celebrities and drugs and scandals and riots that happened in the US and riots that happened in Britain as a result of these kind of pressures. So it's really quite depressing, actually, how dark the world turned out. Because when I wrote all these things in the story, I thought it was like a satirical kind of
a fantasy,
satirical exaggeration, and almost like a warning. So it's really strange reading it after those things have happened, and kind of sheds a whole new light on kind of the significance of the themes of the story, which I think is really, really interesting when you read it all through again, as we have been doing recently.
For sure.
Oh, and sorry, and to go on to the TV show. Yes, there's a director interested, and they're looking for funding at the moment from Netflix in Europe. But things like that, me and Mike are very much of the same mind. Is that, you know, we just concentrate on making the comics. We always try and make our comics as good as they possibly can be, and that keeps us very kind of sustained, kind of creatively, and sort of pays the bills. And then anything that happens in the film world or in the TV world, it's kind of like just like a bonus, and it's such a random process. It's almost like a sort of lottery as to what things get green lighted or funded and what things don't. So
yeah, like Russian roulette, even.
Yeah.
Still, it wouldn't hurt to hit the lottery, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's always nice to have a ticket.
Yeah, as opposed to the Russian roulette, Mike. Okay, so last question. We'll try for a zinger here. It's probably a little bit obvious, but in the world of death sentence, when you get the when you contract the G+ virus, you have 6 months to live. Of course, you do get a superpower. If you found out, let's take the sexually transmitted disease out of it, but if you found out you had 6 months to live, how would you spend it?
I would definitely. I mean, I absolutely love making comics, so I would definitely keep on doing that. But I just wish to God I was faster at like drawing comics, because it's such a arduous process. And if I had one superpower, it would be just to draw comics like super speedy. If I could do like 50 pages in a month, I'd be like super happy. So I'm doing a cyberpunk book at the moment called Chrome Roses, which is doing very well, and I'm funding that on Kickstarter. I got $35,000 for the first book, and I'm just sort of halfway through the second book at the moment. So and like I'm just so. I was talking to Sean Phillips this week, and he was telling me that he was going to get 100 pages done by November, and I was just like, oh fuck, I wish I could do that.
Mike, how about you?
By November.
Yeah, I wish I could do 100 pages by November as well. he's a singular talent. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's places I'd like to go that I haven't been to, and I should probably hang out with my family, and things kind of things we take for granted, I suppose, in this question. I have had a list for a while of things that I've always wanted to draw, and there's one thing left on the list, which is Batman. And I'm like, well, if I wrote someone an email saying, look, it's really sad, I'm actually
I think we've got your ticket to drawing Batman, Mike. I think that's how we do it. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter.
It'll make my dream come true.
All right, we will have to end it there. The book is Death Sentence, the complete collection from Titan Comics. Our guests have been Monty Nero and Mike Dowling. The book is available now. Mike and Monty, thank you very much. And thank you to our audience on comiccon.com. Take care, everyone.